So it hasn't really formally been presented.
Well, one of the things that I noticed was the snow removal aspects. Instead of having DPW and Parks and Rec split the snow removal.
Right, that's a great example.
Things like that. That's the one that sticks in my mind because it's snow. We notice it. We especially notice it when it's not being taken care of the way that however individuals would like to have it taken care of. So it kind of just jumps out there as, well, what about this?
Right, and it doesn't make sense for two different departments to be doing the same thing. I mean, I think there are also efficiencies eventually we can look at with the schools, the city side and the school side. We're doing the same thing on both sides. So
Maintenance
I think
and IT,
maintenance or IT or
as
HR.
well.
I mean, lots of
yeah.
So
I will answer your question, by the way. Well, I think it's important because I've only been there for a couple of months, so I am frankly going on the guidance of folks like yourselves. And folks that have been in the position for quite some time. Generally speaking, my feeling as a newbie is that we have a new mayor, we elected him, we have faith in him, hence the election, and I think that generally speaking, you want to give whoever is new, whether it's the mayor or the president and vice president of the Board of Aldermen for that matter, you want to give people who are coming into new positions with new authorities and new ideas a chance to put their individual stamp on things. And you don't want to tie their hands at the beginning because you're sinking the ship for no reason whatsoever. So generally speaking, unless I see something that's going just incredibly wrong somehow or another, I would generally look again to give people the benefit of the doubt. Give them time, you know. And I would do that. I would say that whether whether it's either of you or whether it's the mayor or whether it's the new school superintendent.
Right. I think just so that just kind of touching a little bit on what Alderman Lappin was saying, the mayor has provided us a framework of what that reorganization would look like. And I think generally people were relatively pleased with the understanding of what that reorganization would do. I think where Vice President Lappin and I were trying to assist the mayor's office was to get that particular reorganization before our body for a vote so he could see where the board was on that and then develop his budget, all to be done by April 20th.
Well, does that help in the transparency aspect that you talked about, where if you're providing more information to people earlier in the process, which historically has not been perceived as that was happening?
Well, absolutely. I think the big thing was, in trying to do that reorganization and trying to do a budget all jammed within 60 to 90 days. I think it was a pretty aggressive timetable for him.
Yeah.
We talked to him about that. I think he still wants to do it. I think that we could be very helpful with our colleagues in working with him on that. And even if after the budget is established and then we work on that reorganization, based on the framework and then the subsequent detail that he'll provide, we will, according to him, and we'll work this out with him, be able to realize some of these efficiencies and savings during the year, which will help with our ongoing operation, fiscal operation of the city.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you've done to reorganize the Board of Aldermen, because it is not a minor reorganization. These are the chairs of the various committees on the Board of Aldermen. And when I look at this, I'm seeing one person who previously, coming from the last session, was a chair, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, everybody else is either a new chair for the first time or chair of a different committee. What was the reason why you thought that was something that needed to be done at this time?
Well, when I campaigned for the presidency, I mean, I had the opportunity to talk to every single member of the board. And in talking to them, even before that, as vice president, being able to chair some meetings, there were a couple of rules changes that had come before where people were trying to put term limits on the presidency or put term limits on committee chairs. I didn't support those because I usually don't support term limits. But the thing was, Charlie, I think I heard loud and clear that people wanted to see some change. So
people on the board,
people
or
on the
people
board
in the community?
Both. I would say both. I would definitely say both. I think that emails and correspondence and then internally, I think people wanted to see some change. So when I campaigned for president, one of the things I told people was that I will be changing chairs around. And if you were someone who didn't feel the chairs needed to be changed around, then you probably shouldn't vote for me. So I tried to be upfront with people, and to a person, they were all said, we understand that this is what you've said and what you want to do, and I'll do whatever it is that you talk about. There were some very talented experienced people on the board who wanted a chance to lead that haven't over their existence. There are some excellent, talented people who've been chairs for quite some time.
Well, what's the significance of being a chair for folks that are not sort of in the thick of it? The significance for being a chair of the committee. Why is that such an important position?
Well, I think because a lot of times you set the agenda and you will set the work of that committee and how it will flow over the course of the 2 years that you're the chairperson. I think that different people obviously have different management styles. One thing that Cheryl and I have tried to work on with chairs, we put together a best practices and guidelines document to talk about how we'd like to move our business through committee and how it's discussed. Again, I think all the chairs were very receptive to it and said this is something that we would like to try to do because they've heard, on various levels that, the Board of Aldermen's work takes too long. So we really tried to take the things that we heard campaigning, and then during the caucus and up till January 1st, we are open for suggestions, but we're also trying to implement things that we've heard.
Well, and which is a perfect bridge into what I'd like to talk about now. I know that there are a number of different committees across the city, different committees that citizens, commissions that people can get involved with. I believe we actually have a list of those as well, and here they are. So in one way or another, here are some of the various committees or commissions, as the case may be, from design review with the buildings to child care to biosafety and a number of others. And so these are all ways that people can get involved. I know that in the past some folks have sort of stayed on the committees that have been there. They've done terrific work volunteering for the city, and in some cases their term expired several years ago, and maybe we just weren't paying that much attention to it, so it just kind of continued, and that's terrific. So I just want to mention to folks that if there is somebody who's watching, you can contact your alderman or the city clerk's office for an application, and you can just go to newtonma.gov and take a look at if there's a way that you personally would like to get involved in the way the city works. And I'd just like to, Cheryl was talking about openness, transparency, and different ways to, communicate better, and hopefully that's some ways that people can feel like they're more involved because they will be.
Right. That listing too that you had up there, those were specific board appointments. There were numerous people on those different committees that the board can make recommendations that'll be made to me that I'll talk with Cheryl about, and we'll recommend people to our colleagues for appointment. There are also a number of appointments that can be made on the mayor's side. I think he has about 3 times the appointments that we have, just on top of that list.
So people should contact the mayor's office
as well. And what we're going to try to do is we're working jointly with the mayor's office to put all those appointments in one place on the city's website, so people can look, search through, whether it's a board appointment or a mayoral appointment. We'd like to get some people, active in their government. So that's what we want to do.
Well, I will mention I'm very proud of the Board of Aldermen's new website, because that part of it, my wife and myself were involved with redeveloping that. I know the mayor's team, they've got a terrific web team, and they really are doing a lot. And I know, Cheryl, that that's something that you're very aware of and very interested in. So are you seeing some improvements there at all?
Oh, I think it's much better than it was, absolutely. And I think it could even be more interactive eventually with citizens.
All right. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time already, which is amazing. So I'd like to thank Board of Aldermen President Scott Lennon.
Thank you.
And Vice President of the Board, Cheryl Lappin. Thank you both for coming, and I really appreciate that. It's going to be a genuine pleasure, I can tell, working with you, working with you both. So thanks for coming in. If you'd like to get in touch with either of our guests, complete contact info is available at newtonma.gov/alderman. All the full Board of Aldermen meetings are seen live on New TV's government channel. The program schedule is at newtv.org. You're also encouraged to show up at City Hall. All meetings, including the committee meetings, are fully open to the public. People do come. You're invited. You're welcome to attend. The better you're informed, the better decisions that everybody can make. Meanwhile, if you've got a business that's community-minded, you want to support this program and keep things going, gain greater exposure for your business, visit newsmakers.org. You can also contact me. My information is there. This program will be repeated throughout the month right here on New TV and online in its entirety, newtonnewsmakers.org. I'm Charlie Shapiro. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month for another edition of Newton Newsmakers.
Newton Newsmakers is made possible through the generous support of First Commons Bank, Beacon Street in Newton Center, representing the future of banking with an inviting environment, the latest banking technologies, and a personal touch to make banking convenient, simple, and sensible. Also at firstcommonsbank.com.